Hi everyone. Well, it's the end of November and I'm here to talk about my reads of the month. I read a lot this month. I read a lot of good stuff, so let's get into it. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to go in order from the books I liked the least to the ones I liked the most. And I'm starting with the book I DNF'd this month, which I'm not happy about the fact that I DNF'd it, but that is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I know, it won like Book of the Year. It won the Booker Prize. I literally couldn't be paid to care after a while. It's only a 5-hour audiobook. If you have read this and you think it's worth me finishing, let me know. I made it 2 hours in and I just couldn't. It's about a small group of people, astronauts, residing on the International Space Station. Sounds interesting to me. They're just like watching Earth. That's all. Are there stunningly beautiful passages? Yes, but that's like all there are. Maybe this is the type of book that you have to read in physical form when you have a lot of time to like parse like flowery philosophical prose, but for me, that's just not today. Okay, so next up was How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong, and I'm rating this a 4, which is a good score, but I honestly thought it would be better than it was after the hype that I heard about it. Again, it's not bad. If you like contemporary romance, which I think I'm realizing is not my favorite genre, then you might like it. So a young woman's sister was unalived when she stepped in front of a car on purpose as a teenager. Years later, the woman, Helen, is a successful author whose books are being adapted as a TV series, and the head writer on the TV series turns out to be the driver of said car that unalived her sister, who is now a handsome, charming, eligible man named Grant. That, you know, they had gone to high school together and he was like the homecoming king and all that stuff. So she has like feelings about him from her past, whatever. So I get that this is a complicated place to start a relationship. And I get that there are cultural things, i.e. how she has to deal with her parents, that I just will always struggle to understand, not being like from that culture. And I don't want to be disrespectful to it. I just felt like her fear and reticence over opening her heart to this like perfectly lovely man was honestly very frustrating to me. I will give this book its due for the spice, though. The Spice Game went harder than I expected. That's not what I was looking for going into it, but that did deliver. I didn't really care for the male audiobook reader and definitely got the icks a few times. So do with all that what you will. So next up is One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware, and I'm rating this a 4.25. I was hoping for an engaging, like, 3-star mystery thriller when I picked this one up, and I was pleasantly surprised to be served a whole lot more than that with this book. There are mysterious elements to this book, but it's not so much as a mystery as it is like kind of a psychological thriller with commentary on toxic masculinity and the power of women supporting women. So a woman named Lila is struggling to science while female when her flailing actor boyfriend gets chosen for a new Survivor-type reality show where couples get brought to an island and put through challenges to see which couples can survive. And actually, this is a show I might guiltily watch. Her boyfriend's desperation to like have his big break kind of allows her to ignore some of the red flags waving in her face, and she agrees to this, and soon they find themselves on an island in Indonesia that's barely set up for habitation when there's a devastating storm and suddenly they are cut off from contact and civilization. And when people start becoming unalived, like, you do know who is at fault, so it's not like a mystery in that regard, but it's more of a psychological conundrum. Like, was it an accident? Is he trying to save them? Or is this guy a psychopath? Like, so yeah, there are Agatha Christie type claustrophobic vibes, and it like kind of turns what should be a paradise into a nightmare. I really liked what she did with the setting. It was very vivid and it like functioned as like another character, which was cool. If you like a thriller, I think this is better than most, and I couldn't put it down. I'm going to talk about The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, which I rated 4.25 stars. I just got these 2 products from Ipsy, one from Make It Forever and one from Fenty, so we're going to try this out. All right, so in my last video, I said that I don't love books, fantasy books, where young people that are reckless and disrespectful with poor attitudes are trained to become assassins. and yet, that's exactly what this book is, and I can't explain why I liked it so much. Well, I can. It's because it's Olivia Blake, and her writing is just so sharp and so funny, and I immediately loved all the characters. I really like this applicator. The basic plot is that 6 different young people that have like some magical powers are chosen to be the stewards and protectors of the Alexandrian Library. It's very prestigious, it's very mysterious. Honestly, I don't even care about the plot that much. I just love these characters interacting, but the plot is exciting and there was a lot of adventure. It was good. Okay, so the next book I read was Confessions by Kane Minato. So this was my favorite thriller of the year. I'm going to be using this palette I got from the TikTok shop that I really like, actually. I'm not selling it, just like it. So the book is told in multiple perspectives, each from a character that was involved in a horrific incident where a teacher's young daughter was found unalived. The first part of the book is told as the teacher like addressing her class, telling them that even though the police ruled the death as an accident, she knows that someone in the class is at fault. This obviously leads to like massive strife among the students who of course begin taking sides and like levying their own justice on who they believe to be the offenders. So then we get the point of view of one of the girls in the class who wasn't involved in the incident, but she kind of has this like emotional connection with both of the boys that were involved. Then we get the point of view of one of the boys who was involved's mother, which has its own unhinged quality. And then finally we get the POV of the other boy who was like the most involved. So this book is about how nothing is black and white and how every person has the capacity for both good and evil. I think I read this book all in one day. It's not super long, but it has really stuck with me. Okay, so next up I'm going to talk about All Fours by Miranda July, and I rated this 4.5 stars. So I didn't know who Miranda July was before reading this, but my husband, who is a huge fan of the punk and art scene of the past, definitely did know who she is. And so I started researching her, and I feel pretty confident that this book is like a memoir of sorts, which is kind of disturbing, but it also made me feel very connected with her. So this book is about a perimenopausal woman who intends to go on a cross-country trip for her job, but she ends up getting waylaid in a small town not that far from her home, where she proceeds to kind of come unhinged. She moves into a motel and pays a local interior designer to like completely redecorate the room she's staying in, spends like a ton of money doing that. And then she begins lusting after the designer's husband, who has similar feelings for her but doesn't want to cheat on his wife. It becomes kind of emotionally complicated. But really, this book is a study on how hard it is to be a creative, sexual, vibrant woman on the cusp of menopause and feeling like you're just about to lose all of those traits that kind of make up your identity. It's a pretty graphic book, so it's not for everyone, but I thought it had a lot of really genius moments. And finally, let's talk about Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. This book has definitely jostled its way onto my top bookshelf of reads of the year. Wow. I had no idea what this book was about going in. I read it because another book talker I really like kept recommending it, and I was so completely blown away. It's about a young man named Cyrus Shams, who is an orphaned son of Iranian immigrants. He grew up in Indiana with his father, who had been a chicken farmer, and his mother had been lost years before when an airplane she was on was pew-pewed down over the Persian Gulf in an accident. And once Cyrus graduated from college, his father also passed. So now he is sort of like drifting through his meaningless life, trying to keep his addictions at bay, trying to find out what he wants to do with his life. And he's mostly grappling with the meaningless nature of death. So he becomes obsessed with the idea of martyrdom, and he begins writing a book about various martyrs like Joan of Arc and Bobby Sands. He's trying to make sense of the whole idea and whole notion of death and giving it meaning. And when he learns of a woman that has terminal cancer that's doing an art installation at the Brooklyn Museum where she just allows people to come and talk to her about dying. So along with his best friend Z, he travels there to meet this woman. So that's like a simple description of the plot, but this book is just a masterful weaving together of different perspectives, amazing characters, amazing stories, so much humor, so many interesting points to consider, so much thought. Just made me think so much, all leading to a pretty ambiguous ending that I surprisingly loved the ambiguity of. I just don't think I'll ever forget this book. All right, and that's all for my books for November. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.